And we're back with episode 8.8 of Monday Night Frights. Tonight we're talking about Tim Burton's gothic tale, Sleepy Hollow.
Oh,
Sleepy Hollow.
it's
It's
so snoozy.
sleepy. We're going for a nice wee
A
news.
wee
Snooze,
snoozle. A wee
snoozle.
snoozle. A wee snoozle.
Um, we are talking about this because this was your choice, Danny, because
Yes.
this is the 25th anniversary. All right,
Yep.
25th.
Man, the amount of stuff that was released in '99,
I
whenever
know.
I was like looking up anniversary stuff and this came up,
Uh-huh.
but like '99 was a good year for cinema, like
What other
real
cool?
good.
Name them.
I
Do you know?
mean, Phantom Menace
Of
was
course.
'99. Oh, what else? Uh oh, Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense was
That was
'99.
it. That's right.
Um there was a whole load of stuff came out in '99 that was just
It's
like,
good
oh
shit,
my
man.
goodness, like we
Good shit.
hit we hit a good year on cinema that year, yeah.
Um, this actually was released in the US in 1999, but it didn't actually get a UK release until January 2000. But it's still,
What?
yeah, so it still was originally released in, first in the US in 1999. So we can still talk about it. It's fine.
Yeah, it'll be all right. Yeah, it was cool.
Uh, yeah, Sleepy Hollow. So obviously based on the short story by Washington Irving, The
Mhm.
Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is a small village that has a headless horseman
Yeah.
in it that has kind of grown. The headless horseman has kind of grown into this mythic legend
I think there's a lot of places have their own like headless
version
horseman. I
of it.
mean, there's
Yeah.
even like a headless horseman story in Ballymena. For
Oh, aye.
goodness
Yeah.
sake,
The White Gate.
yeah, the White Gate and Halloween, the headless
Mhm.
horseman jumps over the gate, and yeah. So I mean, there's a headless horseman story all over the place.
Yeah. But it all revolves from this original story that was directed by Tim Burton um, and stars, of course, Johnny Depp.
Yep. I
So
mean,
this
what's a Tim Burton film without Johnny Depp in it?
this was, but this
And
was
without
only
Christopher
their,
Lee,
yeah.
and without Christopher Walken
Christopher,
and Christina
my
Ricci.
ass.
Oh,
I put the watch up my ass.
there's a yeah, cantaloupe.
So this was only the third time that Burton and Depp had worked together.
Hmm.
Obviously they would go on to
Edward
make quite
Scissorhands.
a few more. Yeah, and Edward, I think.
Okay, I haven't seen Ed Wood actually,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's
okay.
it's okay.
Hmm.
It's okay. I think it's Edward. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Edward. So they have obviously a great relationship now, and they've went on and made quite a few films after this. But yeah, we'll talk about the cast straight away. Like, so Depp, who not a big fan of Depp. I do like some of his performances, and I do enjoy his films. And I think this is actually an underrated performance. I think he's very good in this.
I think he's
I
very
was,
good up to a point, and we'll get on that when it comes to it.
you
I
can
think
tell me the point.
yeah, I think he's good up until a point, and then I was
Think he
like,
goes too
oh,
far?
I think he starts hamming it up
Yeah.
after a certain point, and I'm
Nah,
like,
I was just like, give
oh,
me more ham, man. Come on, bring it on.
give me all the hand.
Make this campy fucking shit. Let's do it. But yeah, so Johnny Depp is quite good in this. Christina Ricci, we know we love her as well.
Love
She's
Christina.
um decent in this role.
Hmm.
She's okay. She doesn't do anything spectacular.
No,
But the rest of the cast is like fucking phenomenal. Like when you look at the amount of stars and like thespians and stuff that are in this, and
man,
you know what I
I
mean?
completely fucking forgot that Emperor
I
Palpatine
know.
is
So
in
did
this.
I.
When
So
he
did
showed up,
I.
his name appeared in the credit, and I was just like,
Do it.
oh my God.
He had a hell of a 99. So he did.
Yeah, he
Not the
sure
Menace
did.
and
He sure did.
fucking
Sleepy
Sleepy Hollow.
Hollow. Uh-huh. Yeah.
But yeah,
But
Christopher Lee makes a
right.
small appearance at the
Sweetly makes
start.
wee appearance. Yeah.
You have Michael Gough, who's a legend, and then you
Michael
have Michael
Gambon.
Gambon, who I'd actually
Mhm.
forgotten was in this as well.
Same. Yep.
Yeah, you have
What do you call him that was in
Richard
Ace Ventura?
Griffiths.
Is that who was in Ace Ventura?
No, Richard
No.
Griffiths is the big dude. He was in With Neil and I. Who else? Miranda Richardson's obviously got a massive role in this too.
Yes. Should do. Should do.
Jeffrey Jones, who we don't talk about now. He's
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
in it as well.
Yep.
And Christopher Walken.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm gonna take your head. Imagine he actually had any dialogue in this film and he was just going around going, I gotta. chop your head off. I'm
They
gonna
should
take your
have. They should
scalp.
have. They should have fucking
Take
just
it
said.
down to. I want my scalps.
And do you know what? They should have let him dance as well.
Should let him dance his way into that fucking fleshy
Yeah.
tree.
Yeah.
Man, his fucking face, in the end of like, I don't know what it is about like Christopher Walken's face. I just love it. I absolutely love it. In this film, he really gets to put on like it's Christopher Walken, but with pointy teeth. What's
Yeah.
not to love, you know? Yeah, it really threw me because again, Chris, I remember as I was starting to watch it, and you get that kind of like the, you know, you get the sort of
Prologue.
like, yeah, you get like that little origin story. I was like, oh, yeah, fucking Christopher Walken's there, and go up here buzzing for it. But I was wait, I was kind of like, is he going to say anything? And then he just makes noises. He just
Yeah.
grunts a
Grunts and
lot. He does a lot
screams,
of
screams
grunts,
and
but
shouts and stuff.
I wish he'd been like, I'm taking your head, fucker.
So Johnny Depp stars as Ichabod Crane, who is a
Ichabod.
police constable sent to the small village of Sleepy Hollow to investigate strange and mysterious murders.
Did you know that I play a bit of D&D from time to
Oh, do
time.
you?
If you cannot gather from being a fucking nerd. But I play a bit of D&D and I was rolling up a character recently and I decided to call them Ichabod. And I was like, why is that name stuck in why am I thinking about Ichabod? What's
Yeah,
this? Why is this name coming to me? And I had to look up. I was like, what where the fuck is this name come from? And then I looked up. Turns out Sleepy Hollow, for some reason, that name, Ichabod, has
it's
just
just in your head.
stuck in my brain. So I named my little character Ichabod.
But is it from this film or is it from
I think so because the
The
Crane
Disney one?
part kind of no, it was this because I've never seen the Disney Ichabod
Oh,
film.
okay.
So yeah, but I remember watching this quite young because I think I kind of recall it premiering like doing one of those sort of Channel 4 premiere type things. I think it
Hmm.
aired on Channel 4 at the time whenever it hit TV over here. And I remember us watching it.
This what this film like?
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Was that
definitely
that was your first time watching it?
watching it was on TV. Yeah, first
Yeah.
time watching it. I think I would have been what 99 when it came out. I was in P3. Probably didn't air on TV until like a year or two later.
Yeah, probably
So
2 years.
I'd have been like 10 maybe when I first
Fuck.
seen it. Yeah,
Unreal.
yeah. Hmm.
I think
And
I
again, I think that's why like it kind of has stuck with me, and I've always
yeah.
kind of been like, oh, it's quite good. Rewatching it's changed that a wee bit. The rose tinted glasses fell
Yes,
away a
yes,
bit.
yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes. I know. I mean, I probably rented it when it first came out on a video. I do remember enjoying it because I've kind of always had a thing for the headless horseman.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh, I love
Um,
his legs.
I know. He's got gorgeous legs. I love his horse as well.
I
But
love
no,
his
I
fucking
think
skill with a blade. He's
I think the
fucking
reason why is because of the story. Like my dad just always tell us ghost stories when we were younger, and we'd sit around. We'd literally sit around in circles, and he'd tell these stories and stuff. And
cute.
the two that always stuck out in my head was the Banshees in the Cribbilly Road Cemetery,
Hmm.
and then obviously, which is quite near the White Gate. Um, Anybody that doesn't live in Ballymena won't know what the fuck we're talking about, but
No.
up that road, there's the White Gate's kind of up around that area too, and that was famous for the Headless Horseman. And
Mhm.
he used to ride down and jump over the gate and blah blah blah. So that always stuck with me as a kid. So I remember whenever anything came up about the Headless Horseman, I was always like, "That's I never realized it was an actual character from a story and from other mediums before that. So I think I did it probably at this point, because I would have been a lot older at this point. But when this came out, I was very interested and interested to see how they did it. And obviously, being a horror fan and being a big fan of Halloween, the
Mhm.
pumpkin head was a big thing, and I really liked the inclusion of the pumpkin head in this.
Yeah.
It was the Pumpkin King basically. It was a sort of bit of a throwback to Jack Skellington.
Hmm.
So yeah, but as you said there, like when you watch it a few years after it doesn't quite live up to the feeling that you had when you watched it for the first time or when you watched it when you were a kid.
Yeah.
I did watch it a couple of years ago and I remember sort of being like, yeah, it's not quite as good as I remember. And then this time around, I was like,
It's a good wee Halloween film. I think it's one of those ones that you kind of bit of popcorn, stick it on for Halloween,
Hmm.
have a good time, you know.
Yeah.
It's no great piece of cinematic art, but like, yeah, it's fun. It's good fun.
It is good. It is a good popcorn movie. The budget was just under 100 million, so
Okay.
fairly big budget, man. Uh,
Yep, yep, yep.
but it did brilliant. It made over 207 million at the
Yeah.
box office. So it was a big, big success. But the original adaptation idea came from Kevin Yeager, who's legendary makeup guy. He wrote a treatment, or he came up with the idea originally, and he wrote a
hmm
treatment with a writer called Andrew Kevin Walker. Do you know who that is?
No.
He wrote a little specs script called Seven that got picked
Ooh.
up and became the
Okay.
film that it became.
Yeah.
So that's how he sort of got into the industry.
There's an
Um,
interesting. Oh, the fucking producer on this.
hmm Couple.
When that name appeared, I was like,
Yeah.
"There's fucking Francis Ford Coppola. What the
Yeah, well,
fuck?"
I think it's his company, so American Zoetrope,
Mhm.
uh, was the production was one of the production companies on this, and apparently not Johnny Depp, Tim Burton didn't even know that he was.
That he's working
So
with
that just
Coppola.
shows you that, yeah, how
The disconnect.
maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
there was a disconnect, and maybe the production company was just really there just to throw a bit of money at it. It wasn't really much involvement on his
Who
side.
was it? There was the fucking. So it's weird because this film has all the title cards, obviously, with the different production companies and all involved. And then there's kind of a bit of a scene, and then you get the opening credits. There's kind of a bit of a prolonged like
Mm.
opening scene and then the opening credits. But there was one of the I can't remember. It's one of Lionsgate's like subsidiaries is the opening of this, but it's the tiger. Do you remember that tiger
Oh yeah,
jumping out
yeah,
of the
yeah.
and when that came on, I was like, oh, I
Oh
was
no.
filled with nostalgia. I was like, oh
Yep,
my
yep,
God,
yep.
like that title card, I haven't seen that in yonks and was
It's
just like,
class.
oh, that's so nice. And then it goes into the like cartoony tiger
Hmm.
face, and I was just like, and I just remember reading below it being like, oh, like a Lionsgate company. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. But yeah, so Kevin Yeager, who he's worked on Elm Street before, Elm Street 2, 3, and 4, I think. He's
Mhm.
worked on Face Off. He's worked on Child's Play. He helped design Chucky. He's worked on loads of things over the years, but he had famously directed Hellraiser Bloodlines, which his name isn't actually attached to anymore. So because of issues, but he came off that and he was supposed to this was supposed to be a project that he was going to direct himself. So he wrote the treatment with this other writer who then went off to write the screenplay and sort of bulk the story out. And I think originally it was supposed to be more of a traditional slasher,
Okay.
which would have been interesting. But
hmm
it kind of would have cut out some of the subplots there with, the other townsfolk. Um, but then when it was purchased by Scott Rudin, the producer, and then Paramount got their hands on it, and they had different ideas. And I think Yeager was kind of pushed out and was like, "No, look, we want you still involved, obviously, but like we don't want you to direct it because you don't have any proper experience or any success as a director." And obviously, they got Tim Burton on then, who had, interestingly enough, just come off a failed production of Superman Lives as well. So
hmm
he was probably pretty ready for something
Something.
something else, like, you know. So Burton and Walker worked on rewrites to the script, and I think then that's when it started to change and become less of a traditional slasher, and they kind of put in more subplots into it and added a bit of dark humor, and made it more
Mhm.
sort of gothic as well, because Burton, like, he
Loves it.
is
He's
he
a
is
rabbit.
he is the Edgar
He's
Allan
our
Poe
spooky
of
boy.
yep, he is. He's a spooky boy. There was another writer attached to this as well. The playwright Tom Stoppard wrote a draft. I don't know if how much of his stuff was included in the final one, but he was a co-writer on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. There you
Ooh.
go. But he's a
Mhm.
playwright. He wrote loads of plays and stuff. So
Mhm.
I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, I think it
Um,
is. It like with you saying that, it does kind of it plays out like a play. Like you could almost sort of have it,
Mm,
you know, it's got that very typical three act structure, and then
mm,
a lot of the scenes all kind of are quite isolated within little areas within the town and stuff.
mm.
Um, yeah, that's
Well,
interesting.
they originally wanted to film on location,
Hmm.
using actual a town, but they ended up bringing the production to England and building Sleepy Hollow. So that was all built from scratch.
Built for
I think it
the
cost
film.
about
Mm.
1.5 million to build. Yeah, it
That
took about
probably explains then why there's so many. Ah, okay. Now I understand why there's so many like English actors and
yeah.
Irish
So
actors and stuff. Yeah.
I think it took about 4 months to build, and they built it on a big lake pond area, and like they built obviously the all the buildings you could actually go into them, so they built them all from scratch, and
Yeah.
that's class, man. Like
It's class.
I
It's great.
love the hard work that went into
The
creating.
practicality of this film, like there's some great, that's great. The practical effects in this are pretty
Hmm.
great. The not so practical effects are not so great, but also
Yeah,
very Tim Burton-esque.
the eyes,
When up the eye man, that fucking the eyes coming out, and
the
then the bit
Beetlejuice
that
eyes.
whenever the fucking headless horseman gets his head back, spoilers, he fucking has what do you call it? Mad not Mad Marge. What'd you call it in Pee Wee Herman's Big
Hey,
Adventure?
Marge,
It's Marge. Large Marge.
large Marge,
When
yeah.
Large Marge's head's like that there, fucking the Headless Horseman has a
Sort
moment where he has like a
of
large Marge head
large Marge was
with
very
the big
much like
bulgy
claymation,
eyes and
wasn't it?
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was that kind of thing to the Headless Horseman as all his like muscles and sinew
Hmm.
grew back and his eyes popped out. I was like, fuck me, Large Marge.
Yeah, one of the things I did love about the film was I loved that it was very much a homage,
A Mitch.
the tribute to sort of like Hammer horror.
Hmm.
Classic. We know that Burton's a big fan of Hammer horror. Um, this was probably his first. I know it's not. I suppose it's not really a proper horror film. It's got humor in it and stuff, but this is his first foray into the horror genre. I
Hmm.
would say, if you don't count Beetlejuice, because Beetlejuice was more of a comedy horror,
Yeah.
but yeah, so he used this as a kind of proper homage to
A Mitch.
Hammer horror, and you can sort of tell it was that kind of style, the locations as well. But I think more so he wanted to get a lot of actors that he wanted to work with, so he worked with Christopher Lee, the
Hmm.
legendary Christopher Lee.
Was this his first time with Christopher Lee?
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
was yeah. Obviously, he'd worked with him later in Charlie and the
Hmm.
Chocolate Factory.
But a few years later.
Uh,
'Cause he had Vincent Price and Edward Scissorhands, didn't he?
yeah, Vincent Price
And
he worked
then
with, and then
Christopher
Edward
Lee in this.
Scissorhands. Yep.
Hmm.
Peter Cushing died, so he wasn't
Hmm.
able to work with him. But he worked with Michael Gough as well, who was in a couple of Hammer films as well. Definitely one of those Draculas.
Hmm.
Um, and Ian McDermott, he wasn't in any Hammer productions that I'm aware of, but I know he definitely did some stage stuff based on Dracula and some horror stuff. So and when is it not good to see Ian McDermott? Like
We love the Emperor. We're
he's
all about
he's
pulpy
he's
boy.
not
Like,
he's not in enough films for me,
no, no, he
you
should
know.
definitely be in more.
And I
But
liked him with a
yes,
wee bit of the facial hair as well. I think that's
yeah,
it.
man, him in this film is great because I kind of thought there was for a bit because he doesn't really talk until about halfway through the film.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, is he just going to be a wee background actor? Like, is he going to do
Yeah.
nothing? But then he had a wee moment, and I was like,
And is he
yippee!
going to do a voice? Is it going to be, or is it just going to be his voice? Is it just going to be the
It's
Emperor's
just
voice?
him walking around going, do
Do
it.
it.
What are you doing? What do you mean, operate?
I was waiting for him to be like, "Have you ever heard the story,
Have you ever heard of the
the
Headless
tragic,
Horseman? The tragedy of the
the
Headless
trilogy
Horseman?
of the Headless Horseman?" Yeah. So, no, I loved that. This was a Hammer horror style. Gothic, dark, bit of dark humor there as well, and
Yeah.
wee bit of camp as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It is a Tim Burton film. You can obviously see Burton's stylization in it, but it's not the most Burton-y it could be. You know, it's nowhere near as stylized as Edward Scissorhands or
Or Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice or yeah, but there's still a bit like the Tree of Death or the Dead Tree, where the fuck it was called.
Yeah,
That's Burton written all over it with the fucking twisty
yeah,
fucking branches and all. But he definitely reins in his Burtonness
yeah. Because
in this.
when we think of Burton, we think of spirals, don't we?
Yeah.
We think of a lot of like Dr. Caligari style, like German expressionism and a lot
Yeah,
of that
you kind
stuff.
of get that. You get that in Ichabod's dreams and his like
Uh,
flashback dreams. I think you see a lot more of those sort of influences. But in terms of actually the town setting and stuff, it's very, very toned down.
yeah,
Um, compared to his usual goings on.
yeah. And I think Depp had said in interviews afterwards that he wanted to play it pretty campy and stuff, and he wanted to give it that sort of, well, no, he wanted to have a bit of a Peter Cushing style about him, and
Yeah,
even a Basil Rathbone as well.
I found
You
him
know,
very because that's I was kind of watching it and I was like, what he's giving big Sherlock energy in this, isn't he?
yes,
Like
Basil, yeah, Basil,
yeah, yep, 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 yep. Um,
um, with his big fucking collars and
big collar and big cuffs.
I know his cuffs.
You know,
But as well, funny enough, you should mention Coppola because the story, the start of it, very much was reminded me of like Bram Stoker's Dracula.
hmm
Obviously, that was very more of a serious tone, and you know, but I kind of felt like just the way he was traveling on the coach, and there was that
yeah.
lovely shot at the very start where it kind of comes out and you see the silhouette of the coach through the trees and stuff, and
Against a lovely blue hue. This
the
film has a big blue hue over the whole thing. Like,
mm,
it's
aye.
just tinted blue.
Yeah, it's you can tell they've used whatever the filler is they've used, but they've desaturated it as much as they can.
Yeah.
They've tried to highlight a lot of the shadows and the darkness, but it's kind of like a bluey grey throughout it. Which ugh, sometimes it's nice to have a good splash of color though. No,
Yeah, I think again his flashbacky dreams have big splashes
uh,
of black, white, and red.
there's a lot of white in it as
Um,
well,
a
and
lot
there's
of white.
flashbacks.
Uh, but yeah, most of this film is very blues and grays, and
It's very
apart from
grey. I
blood,
th
blood
Yeah, well,
gets
I think obviously
a
that
lot of
helps as
attention.
well because there's a fair amount of blood in it, and it's
hmm
not super gory, but
No.
well, other than the beheadings. But again, they're
Mhm.
quite clean cut. They're not
What are you
like,
talking about? The Ma and the Iron Maiden. That's the blood. That's
oh,
fucking shining territory right there.
that's right. That was cool. I really like that scene.
Yeah,
It
it's
was very
fucking
creepy though.
traumatic. Yeah, because the rest of it, like the head's been coming off. You're like, fair enough, but it's also kind of silly the way they like
Yeah,
roll and
they
are a bit
roll,
kind of.
but the bit where the kid, the bit where the wee kid is hiding under the floorboards. We're getting a bit ahead here, and we're sort
We
of
are, but
whatever.
again, we're just excited.
He's under the floorboards. I really like that scene. And
It's
then
that's fucking
obviously
mental.
they kill the dad, and he comes in with the dad's head, and the wife's like, "Ooh, whatever," and then the wee kid's underneath, and the wee kid's looking up, and he slices off the ma's head, and her head rolls across, and just he looks up and just
Mhm.
sees her eyes and stuff. That was class.
Yeah, yeah, and then
Very good.
fucking Headless Horseman just fucking smashes through the floorboards to get at him.
Aye, but did you notice that he sort of walks away first,
hmm
and then he comes back? And I was thinking, did he know he was there and decide, no, I must kill this kid, or did he just walk away not knowing he was there and then realized, like, heard him and then went back to kill him?
Not sure, not sure, but
Either
yeah,
way, he
I was
was
just like,
with
fucking smashing through to the wind.
his big fucking sword.
hmm
Um, yeah, so no, that was class scene. But the DOP on the film was a guy called Emmanuel Lubezki, who I think they originally him and Burton had an idea originally to film it in black and white, which
Okay.
that could have worked.
hmm
But then he did that with Ed Wood. So it would have been a wee bit, and then
Uh,
obviously he did it with like Vincent, who's one of his short films, and I don't know if it would have worked.
if you don't. done too
You
many
know, it would have
times in
been
a
like
row.
a bit too artsy fartsy and a bit too, well, just, I actually think they should have went full on, saturated, like full on proper Hammer horror,
Hmm.
where it was like oversaturated.
Yeah.
I think that
Right.
would have worked as well, but
Yeah.
they obviously just decided to rein it in and go sort of with the sort of grey, blue, gothic
And then just have the
vibe.
blood. But then fucking Christopher Walken's big blue eyes.
Yeah,
They're
that's
blue as
true.
fuck.
Yeah.
Mm.
I like the fairy tale aspects to it as well. Like
Hmm.
it feels like a dark fairy tale.
Witches in the woods
Um,
and all
the
that
witches,
stuff.
yeah,
Yep.
definitely the
Hmm.
witches in the woods and um the wee two girls at the start is very much like the start of a fairy tale where it's like no Hansel and Gretel and stuff. I know it's a boy and a girl, but it was giving me that vibe.
Yeah.
And obviously they pop up later. Well, one of them pops up later.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
they kind of both pop up
they
because
kind of
your
both pop up.
the sister appears and then gets fucking done
Gets
in by her
her
sister for touting, for telling the secrets.
gets her head chopped off.
Hmm.
Um, Big fan of the Halloween vibes.
Yeah.
I just love everything Halloween, so I feel like they could have maybe went in harder Halloween. But
Oh yeah.
that image of the Pumpkin King at the start, like, that got me giddy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
got me very giddy. So I love that. And a big fan of Walken's teeth. We briefly mentioned it earlier.
Hmm.
His teeth were
Sharpened.
sharpened down,
Hmm.
and his hair as well.
He just wanted battle. He wanted to battle and
Uh-huh.
fucking maul people and fucking chop their heads off.
Yeah. But
But
what
yeah, his
other
hair is fucking.
crazy? Yeah. What other sort of scenes stand out to you then?
Well, there's scenes. Well, the one for me, because I kind of thought like Depp was sort of coming on, but he was also kind of playing it straight up until the point where he first sees the horseman for real, and
Yeah.
he's like traumatized in his wee bed, and he's holding the quilt up here, and he's like, "The horseman,
I
the
saw him.
horseman is real."
I
I was
saw him.
like, "All right, all
And they're
right, here he is."
all the townsfolk were going, yeah, we told you like
Yeah,
that.
we told you, and he's like, "Yes, but he's for real," and then he goes, "Oh." I was like, oh fuck off. That bit that was the point where he stopped kind of playing it half straight and just fucking lent into being a
Mm.
real goof. And then there's a bit later with the spider as well, which again I was kind of like, you have literally just done this so that you can show the pentagram under the bed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like it just was wedged in there, and it just made his character seem even more like ridiculous.
I do kind of like that scene because I think that is a change in obviously
Mhm.
the moment that he changes his character, because before that he was quite straight in the sense that he was saying to them, "Oh, look, this is ridiculous. Stop talking shite. There is no horseman. It's an old wives' tale. Like there's nothing that exists that like that. That's it's a story. It's a myth. It's a legend."
Mhm.
So he's playing it very straight, and then when he actually sees it with his own eyes, he has to change then. So
Yeah.
he does go full on like, ooh,
Yeah, yeah,
like fucking carry on.
yeah.
He stepped out of a carry on movie.
Exactly. Well,
But
that was the moment for me where it's a bit like, I
yeah,
get it, I understand, but it felt just a real like over the top and took me
yeah.
out of it a wee bit.
I think one of the scenes that always stood out in my mind, it's not even a massive scene or important scene really, is when he's doing the first operation on the
Mhm.
pregnant girl, isn't it? And he's got the big glasses.
Yep. Big lad and his
I don't
only
know
tools
what.
that he's
Yeah,
made. Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but just that image of him wearing the big glasses, and then he's got the wee
It's
tool and the other wee glass, the wee miniature sort of thing.
uh, again very Burton-esque.
Yeah.
Give me the what do you call the professor character in Nightmare Before Christmas, the one that made Sally.
Aye. Yes. Yes.
Give me him vibes.
Yeah.
All the wee tools and the
Mhm.
when Jack's doing all his wee experiments on Christmas stuff. I was very much getting a lot of that.
And then I always remember the bit when he jabs her and the blood squirts out on his glasses.
Mhm.
That just that was just if you were to say to me, name me one scene from that film, that would be the scene. I'd be able to tell you
That's the
straight
one.
away because it just stuck with me.
I think
Um,
for me, the Headless Horseman's origin. has always kind of stuck with me. And then that scene with the witch when they first encounter the witch in the woods, and she's it's the bit where she cuts the head off the bat and then just like brings it
Yeah,
out. Like that stuck with me, and her put shackling herself and like lunging
yeah.
at him to make sure she can't reach him.
Because
Um
that kind of turned the story on its head a wee bit. Because it was like,
mhm,
oh, it's not just about this crazy horseman who might be real, it might not be real, he might be a human. Because they sort of teased whenever Ichabod first comes in to the village, they sort of tease that maybe it could be a human, or they at least put it out there when it's
mhm.
what's the guy called?
I can't remember his name off the
I
top of
can't
my
remember
head,
his
but yeah.
name, but he dresses up and then he meets his mates and they all laugh. So I was,
Yeah, and they've
you
got
know,
the flaming pumpkin head who
yeah, it's quite
chucks at him.
realistic and quite, it feels like that could have been. Obviously, they wouldn't show that if it was real, but that could have been something that they could have re revealed later
Mhm.
as a false reveal sort of thing.
Yep.
But obviously they had to play up the hatred between those two characters because that was kind of important for a bit of
Yeah.
the story anyway.
But again, something that seemed to fizzle out real quick, though. It wasn't something that was overly explored. Like we had that scene, and we have him trying to confront him when Ichabod first arrives and stuff. But yeah, it fizzled out real quick. Though I do like whenever Casper Van Dien's character is fighting the Headless Horseman, and
Mm,
Ichabod's kind of like, oh, he's not actually trying to attack you. It's targeted. Um, but you get to see a real like range of motion for the Headless Horseman, and like his combat is clearly somebody who has a lot of like combat experience because the way they're swinging them axes and the swords
hmm.
around and stuff. I'm like, you know what you're doing, despite the fact you have no head. It was pretty cool. It's
No
pretty
heat.
cool. I liked it. No heat.
No heat, horseman.
Where's your heat?
Um, yeah, that was a great scene actually. The fighting scene was kind of took me by surprise. I was like,
The
this is actually
fighting,
fucking good, man.
the fighting, the fight choreography in this film, yeah, I'd completely forgotten about. So whenever I kind of seen him fucking doing his fucking spinnies with the axes and all, I was like, oh,
Do you think that was really
okay.
Do you think that was really Christopher Walken doing that?
No, no, I think they got off lightly, have been able to be like, oh, we don't
Oh,
have to show his
we can
head.
just cut out his head
Yeah.
in post. I know. But I want to go back to the witch because
Which witch?
which
There's like
witch? Oh, the
three witches.
well, the main witch, the first witch that you see with the veil. Because I
Mhm.
remember when he goes in and she's like, "Oh, you have to go to the tree,"
Mhm.
which is where the horseman
You have to
stays.
follow the Indian
Yeah,
trail. I was like, it's a Native American trail.
I know.
Okay.
Excuse me, get a fucking right, you racist fuck. So she's wearing the veil, and I kind of forgotten this, but and I was like, she's her eyes are going to pop out here. I fucking know it. I remember her eyes pops out, and
hmm
I do love that because when she's shackled, she's sort of crazy, and she's kind of like, and then he's kind of like, what's going on underneath that veil?
She's fucking hubble, tubble, boiling trouble.
Yeah, it's
Fucking,
proper
yeah,
witch. Like I
yeah,
love that. I love all that shit, man. Give me
yeah. It's fucking
old school witch. Like,
what made me laugh going into that scene is your wee man who's sort of vowed to help Ichabod because his dad and his ma's dead.
yes, yes, yes.
Um, and whenever they're going into the wee witch's like hovel, uh, Ichabod is standing behind the boy with his pistol drawn, but he's like pushing the boy ahead of him. I'm like, Ichabod, you're a fucking fanny. Like,
I know. I kind of like that though, because it adds a wee bit more to his character.
adds to his character. It does, but
He is a coward, like,
yep, yep.
in many respects, even though he's a police constable.
hmm
Well, ACAB, but um, that's but the witch's eyes are fucking
And
like,
then a wee fucking snake tongue as
yeah.
well.
I hate no.
Uh,
I want to actually first go, but I want to go back to the bat because I was like, nah, I
mhm.
dislike this.
It's the fact that she
I dislike
fucking
cruelty to animals, man.
no, me too. It's because she doesn't even just like cut his head off and wring it out. She gives it a wee fucking shake in the basket first,
Yeah,
pure rattles it, and then fucking dumps it on the table, chops the head off it, and fucking proper gives it a
Jesus God,
squishing.
that bat
Mm-hmm.
had no chance, man.
Poor wee bat.
Oh,
Wee bat.
shocked, shocked. I say. What other scenes were good? Any scene with Walken in it is great.
Any scene with Walken, we do love a bit of Walken. I like the when they find so they leave the witch's like hovel and they go and find the death tree at the end of the Indian Trail, and he's like over and he's like, this tree is dead, but it's still alive, and he touches it and the blood comes out. I remember that. That's one of the things I remember from being away and watching it
Hmm.
was the blood coming out of the tree, and then he cuts it back, and inside's all the heads, and it turns out it's the portal to hell.
Hmm.
I remember that, and then I remember him digging the grave, the graves marked with the headless horseman's sword, and I remember him digging the grave, and there's no skull, and he's like, "So that's it. We have to find the skull. Um, that's who's controlling him." Yeah, I really
Yeah,
like
so
that.
the vibe is that they think he's just killing willy-nilly, then they realize, oh, he's killing targets, specific
Mhm.
targets, and then he investigates a little bit more and he finds out that he's actually being controlled by somebody in the town.
Oh, 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 who
But
could it
who?
possibly
But
be?
who? So he
Is it
tries to
Michael Gambon?
he tries to connect the dots basically, and he figures out who does it, and
Well, he
then
thinks he,
there's another couple of wee twists.
yeah, he thinks it's Michael Gambon. He
Yeah.
thinks it's him because he thinks he's due to inherit a load of money from a relative
Hmm.
if he knocks off all the other players. Um, but then it turns out not to be Michael Gambon.
Hmm. Who is
Who
it?
is, who is it? Who could it possibly be? I can't remember her name. The stepma. It's the evil stepma, which again adds the whole fucking fairy tale element.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Miranda
it's
Richardson.
Miranda Richardson. Yeah. Fucking Lady Van Tassel.
Yes.
Uh, turns out, fucking doesn't it turn out that one, she's a witch. The witch that was in the hovel is her twin sister.
Hmm.
And she's the one that's been controlling the Headless Horseman because she wants to get revenge on the Van Tassel family, on the whole town, because they wouldn't take her family in when the dad died.
Hmm.
And not just that, they had to live out in the woods. And when they were out in the woods, they're the little kids that saw the Headless Horseman before he was headless,
Hmm.
and she's the little fucker that alerted the fucking Brits that he was there.
Hmm. She
And they
broke the
decapitated him. She broke the stick.
she broke the stick
She
by.
alerted them with a fucking stick. But then she swore her soul to the devil if she could control the headless horseman to do her bidding. And that's
There you go.
that's how that
That's
all
the
went down.
story.
But she also had to fucking kill her sister because her sister
She did,
told like
yeah.
a blood where the fucking grave of the headless horseman was.
She
So,
cut her head off.
you just had to fucking weak the head off, weak the head off her sister. She also weaks the head off her maid because she needed a convenient body to pretend that she was dead as well, which I
She
was kind of
did.
like
She
rude.
faked her own
But I
death,
did like
yeah.
that. I like that scene. I actually quite like the way that scene sort of played out. She's explaining, that she had to kill her. She never really liked her anyway. And she needed the body so that she could play dead. But she goes up behind her as the maid's like doing some laundry outside in her wee wash bucket and board, and she chops the head off her, and just that single blood streak like up her face. I was like, oh, that's nice. That's quite nice.
It
That was a
is.
nice shot.
It was nice. Yeah, I mean, there's not an awful lot of shots that stand out in my head. Um,
The dream sequences really stand out.
there's a great shot in the dream sequence when your man comes through the door. Is it a pew? I'm getting. Is it
Yeah, he's got
church
yeah, because
pews?
his dad's like religious as fuck. What does he describes him Bible black? He says, oh, he was Bible black, justifying his actions with religion or
Hmm.
something like that there.
Surely not, Danny. Surely nobody would do
Who
that.
would do such a thing?
Surely that's
Who
not
would
something that would
ever try and
still happen
justify
today.
their horrible, horrible actions with religion?
But I love that. I want that scene where he's walking up through. It must be through the church, and it's just a white wall, and
Hmm.
it's very sort of like the juxtaposition from that scene to the kind of gothic grey bluey of the entire film was really
It's
lovely.
it's the bit. because then after that, because he's kind of explaining about how his father had accused his mother of witchcraft, and punished her by putting her in Nine Maiden. But whenever it's leading up to like that torture room, the room full of like torture devices,
Send your
it's the white hallway
daughter
with the
to the slaughter.
Are you saying like Iron Man? But it's the white hallway with the long red carpet running up it with
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
red door, and then that opens and you see the Iron Maiden and he walks into the room,
Like
and
a
then his
torture chamber, isn't it?
it's
There's other
yeah,
stuff.
he's there's loads of different torture devices and all. And you just see the Ma's fucking eyes peering out from the Iron Maiden, and then you get another dream sequence later where he's walking up to the Iron Maiden and she fucking falls
Also,
forward out of it, and he falls back and puts his hands down on like a spiked chair, because you
mm,
see earlier in the film he's got like scars
mm,
all over his hands, and then that's you figure out that,
what do
oh,
you call that when you've got like what's
I can
the no the what's the fucking phobia?
oh,
With the wee
trichophobia.
circles, yeah. Because
Yeah.
when that came on, I was like, "Fucking hell!" I
Mhm.
don't have trichophobia, but Janine
Yeah.
does, so she's like, "I'm
I
glad
was
she didn't
just
watch it."
I remember whenever I seen the hands, I was like, oh fuck, aye, that's right. He ends up in I actually, there was a part of me who was like, does he end up in the Iron Maiden? But no, he falls, his man's in the Iron Maiden. But yeah, that was very shining, wasn't it? When she falls forward out of it and all the blood
Mm.
spills out over him, and then he wakes up and he's like, ooh, silly wee goose.
Ooh,
Ooh. But yeah, I like that. I thought
oh hey,
actually
it's
I
just
like
a
those two
dream.
scenes. It's
It's just a
just
wee nightmare.
a silly wee dream. Um, and then he's
My
like,
bed.
oh, that's when and his eyes explained to Christian Ritchie how that's when he lost his faith and he became a man of science
Oh,
and all that
I
there
do
because his
love a
dad was a
cardinal.
bad bastard.
I
I
wish I
do
could
love a
have a cardinal of my own, but I
me.
wouldn't.
I
I
would
can't bear putting him in a
I
cage.
can't bear to put it in a cage. And then and then he's like, well, I've got something to show you. And it's a
Zip.
fucking it's his little I'd be if it was red, I'd be worried.
Here's a red
Um,
cardinal for you, love.
but he's got his wee fucking illusionary fucking
Yes.
twisty thing, cage on one side, red card on the other. You spin it
Excuse
and
me,
it
it's
looks like
actually
another
magic,
one.
Danny.
So she
He's a
is. Oh, wow,
magician.
she's all like, "Oh, you're doing your magic," and he's like, "No,
You're a
it's just
magician.
fucking what
Optics.
optics." That's right. It's an optical illusion.
Oh,
Um,
class.
what another again? It's good. It is good. It's good storytelling. Um, but it's just I think it's delivered a bit sort of
Do you think that,
hammy.
yeah, do
It's
you think
quite
it's a wee
hammy.
bit too convoluted and that they try to put
Yeah.
too much in it?
Yeah, I think there's a few plot points where you're just kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, like Ichabod didn't. I kind of guess they added Ichabod's backstory to kind of show why he's such like a nervy wee weasel man,
Hmm.
but there wasn't really too much of a need for it to be even to be as extreme. Again, I think it just added some nice visuals and stylizing, and Tim Burton got to throw in some fucking medieval torture devices for the
Do you know what I
funsies.
do? I do want to point out, and I don't know if you noticed this, but do you know him as a child?
Hmm.
Did you not think that he looked a little bit like Butch's girlfriend from Pulp Fiction? Do you know Butch from Pulp Fiction? You know Bruce Willis from Pulp
Yeah,
Fiction?
yeah. And she's like, I have a pot belly,
Yeah.
a little pot belly.
Who's dead? Says dead, baby.
No, I
Go and
hadn't
Google it.
considered that. No,
Go and Google it
no, I
afterwards.
need
I
to
swear, man, they're
fucking.
twins. They're twins. There you go. Don't
Yeah,
Google it now.
I'll
Google it
have to look it up.
afterwards.
No, I
We'll
didn't.
put a wee comparison
No, no,
picture.
I'll Google after, but I don't.
That's what I
I did
got. I don't
not
know if it was
get
the
that
eyebrows or
vibe,
something,
but
but
uh,
it was a weird one. But for some reason, when I saw him, I was like, "Oh,
well,
that's surely they're related," but I don't think they are.
yeah, maybe.
So,
You know, what scene though? Because you touched on already about Hammer horror and the influences of Hammer horror in this.
yes.
The scene that was screaming Hammer horror at me, the windmill scene.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, of course they have to set a windmill on fire. It
Frankenstein.
wouldn't be Hammer horror inspired without a windmill on fire.
Hmm.
But yeah, again, that scene seemed kind of silly. It felt kind of pointless. It was kind of just like, oh, here's our opportunity to try and take on the head of the sword. Nope, we just walked out.
Yeah.
It's fine. All right. It was just I felt like we want another set piece.
Yeah, I just wanted that set piece, the big
Hmm.
sort of, yeah, that was probably pretty much it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so how did it end? How did the film end, Danny?
Film ends, so we get all the twisty turnies. You find out that, Von Trapp has been behind, or Madame Von Trapp or Lady Von Trapp, whatever the fuck. She's
Von
been
Trapp,
behind it all.
fucking
Is it
sound the music here.
Not the Von Trapp. It was
Von Tassel.
Von Tassel. Von Trapp? Von Trapp. Uh, the hills are alive with the sound of headlessness. Um,
Go.
yeah, so,
A female
oh
deer.
dear, they have
Fucking
mercy.
hell. There
Um,
were no Nazis in this film.
There was no, well, we don't know.
Well, there might have been, but
They could have grown up to be Nazis, those Von Tassels.
mm,
Um, but yes, so we'll find out that she's, the big bad witch who's been behind it all. And then they have a bit of the windmill scene, and then they decide, fuck it, we're gonna go off to the grave of the headless horseman. They think they've sort of figured it out. And then she has the skull, but they managed to get the skull from her. They get the headless horseman's skull from Lady Van Tassel, and they put it back. Or fucking Ichabod has it, and he's like, "Hey, I got your skull." And Christopher Walken's like, "Oh, my skull!
oh,
Give it over here."
give me
Well,
the
I
skull.
put it back on, and it does proper like a
Click.
fix that in place, and then all the fucking blood and sinew and muscles and skin and his eyes pop out, and large Marge makes an appearance. And then he's got his skin back, and then he fucking scoops up Lady Van Tassel in his arms and gives her a big toothy smooch
Hmm.
and fucking bites into her face, and then takes her down into hell in the tree. And
There you
then
go.
Christina Ricci and Ichabod decide that, hey, we also love each other because there's been tension throughout this whole thing. They've had a
Hmm.
bit of tension apart from whenever he suspected her dad and he kind of didn't trust her a bit. But then it was okay because it turned out that her pentagrams that she'd been
She
drawing
was,
around the
yeah,
place were
she was.
actually there to help. So he takes her back to New York and they live happily ever after. One scene I did actually, we've forgotten to talk about was the scene where they figure out so there's a town meeting in the chapel and everyone's fucking freaking out like and Ichabod is conveniently looking outside and sees the headless horseman throw an axe down into the grounds of the chapel and it fucking evaporates, it just
Does, yeah.
melts away and then Ichabod's like, everyone, he can't get in, he can't get in. But in the
He must be
meantime,
invited.
hey, he must be. He must be. It's religion. He's a demon. He can't get in.
Hallowed ground.
Because that's what he sounds like the whole time. It's hello crowd. He can't come in. But in the meantime,
Why did
fucking,
we decide to do fucking like Tots TV fucking
I don't know. I have no
voices?
idea. Not that phone again.
Not that fun again. I tell you
But
what.
not that headless
I tell
horseman.
you what, Tom.
I
I'm
tell
not going
you
to do any more
what.
sweeping.
But it's that bit of the church, so Ichabod's trying to fucking settle everybody down, but Michael Gambon, Ian McDermott, and the Nancy boy from Ferris Bueller,
Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey Jones, um, they're fucking having a little tiff and argument, and they're like, "Oh, fucking Michael Gambon, get you out there! It's you he's looking for." And Michael Gambon's like, "Fuck off, the lot is." And then Ian McDermott gets fucking smashed in the head with the fucking
Oh, aye,
crucifix.
that's
He
right.
gets fucking
Yeah.
hit in the buns with the fucking crucifix, and then Michael Gambon
Oh,
shoots
fucking
the
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Jones, yeah, he shoots him with a wee pistol, and then everybody's kind of like, Michael Gambon, don't be at it. What the
Mm.
fuck? And he gets up on top of the pew, and the headless horseman figures out, hey, I might not be able to go on whole ground, but I can use this fucking spiky ass fucking fence post and fucking launch it through the chapel window into Michael Gambon's
That's
chest,
right. Aye,
pull him
class.
just enough through the fence that just his head's poking out through the fence, and I can take his head that way.
Yep.
What a
There you
moment!
go.
What a
All he wanted was
fucking,
a
I
bit.
completely forgot that that bit played out.
All he wanted was a bit
So
ahead. Like that's all he needed, man.
that's all the man ever wanted.
That's all he wanted. Like
But
what
the
the
head
fuck?
he'd have been
Uh,
all right. But there's
but
no head
yeah,
like your
so
own head,
there's no
is there?
no. That's the best head. Yeah, self head.
So, but the self head does the world a good.
Oh Jesus Christ, what are we doing? But yeah, so I think. we both kind of like it, not that
We
much,
enjoy
not as
it.
much as we
It's
liked it when we were kids.
I think we have, yeah, we had fun with it. I think when we were younger, it definitely was sort of a hype sort of thing. But now going back and watching it, it's like, yeah, it's all right. It's fun. It's a good popcorny Halloweeny
Mm,
film.
no,
Hmm.
I think that's all the time we have this week, Danny.
I think we should
But
finish on the
I think
self-head is
we should
good head
definitely
note.
finish in the self-head. But as always, we'd love to hear your comments on the film.
Mhm.
Do you like Johnny Depp's performance in this? Is it too hammy? Is it too campy? And what else would you like to see in Sleepy Hollow? And obviously, we all love Christopher Walken, so um,
Oh,
and also
yeah,
give
cantaloupe.
us your Christopher Walken impression, please.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
If people hit us up with Christopher Walken impressions, like we'll be so happy. We love a good Christopher Walken
Yeah,
impression.
we do, we do.
Um,
There's some good ones out there.
oh
We're
yeah,
obviously awful at
absolutely.
it, but we have to
What
do
are you
it.
talking about? Mine's
Yeah,
fine.
you can't
Mine's
talk about
okay.
Christopher Walken without doing an impression.
Oh,
That's But anyway, we're going to head on here. So, as always, please go and visit us at www.thefrightclubni.com on the website. I'll put a link to an article that we just published a few weeks ago by one of our very talented writers, Victoria Brown. She talks about the history of the Headless Horseman and mostly the Disney version, but she also talks about some of the history before Disney released their film, which is a great read. So. I'll put that in the comments below. Also, please go and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's at the Fright Club NI and on Facebook as well. If you can do that, that'd be great.
mhm. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh,
Oh,
hit the
hit
bell
that bell
icon.
icon.
Hit the bell icon to get
Um,
notified.
right, so we're going to head on here. I'm heading off to the Devonish now for a wee bit of action. Did you see this?
Big swinging langers. Big swinging langers all over the show.
Love it. Love life.
Um,
Why not, man? That old lady was loving life, so she was.
there is no headless horseman that night.
Definitely not. There was a lot ahead, but no fucking headless horseman. But
Oh,
we'll head on here.
oh.
Oh, and we will see you in 2 weeks. As always, stay safe, take care. All the best.
Bye.
See you later.
Oh.